Happy Sabbath, everyone!
Happy Sabbath!
This week, a new king comes upon the scene by the name of Ahaz. This study is divided into 3 sections. The challenge of King Ahaz, the Lord looks after the king, and look quietly. Please stay with us as we continue to go through the lesson entitled, When Your World is Falling Apart.
Our memory text is taken from Isaiah 7 verse 9. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established.
Sabbath afternoon. One Sabbath, Connie and Roy drove into their driveway after church. Beethoven, the neighbor's small dog, had escaped her yard and was down by the pond with Daisy in her mouth. Connie rescued Daisy, but it was too late. A tall white duck by the name of Waddlesworth saw Connie holding Daisy and seemed to have assumed she had killed her. Sometimes it is hard to sort out who your friends and enemies are.
Sunday, danger from the north. Isaiah 7 verses 1 through 9. Rather than recognizing that God was the only friend who could rescue him and his country, Ahaz tried to make friend out of Tiglath-Pileser III, the enemy of his enemies. The Assyrian king happily complied with his request for aid against Syria and Israel. The power of the Syrian-Israelite alliance was broken. In the short run, it appeared that Ahaz had saved Judah. He had been one of the worst kings ever to rule Judah up to that point.
Monday, attempted interception. Isaiah 7 verses 3 through 9. While Ahaz was weighing his political options to meet the threat from Israel and Syria, God knew some things he did not. For one thing, it was God who allowed trouble to come upon him in order to discipline him and bring him to his senses. The threat from Syria and Israel would pass, and Judah would be spared. Ahaz needed to be sure in order to be made sure. He needed to rely in order to be reliable.
Tuesday, another chance. Isaiah 7 verses 10 through 13. Ahaz did not respond to Isaiah's call for faith, so God mercifully gave the king another chance, telling him to ask for a sign that was deep as Sheol or high as heaven. But Ahaz was not even willing to allow God to help him to believe. Isaiah pointed out that by refusing to put God to the test, outwardly to avoid wearying God, Ahaz in fact wearied God. When Ahaz refused the divine offer, he rejected the Lord from being his God.
Wednesday, sign of a son. Isaiah 7 verses 14. How could a young woman bearing a child and calling him Emmanuel be a sign of biblical proportions? 1. Because the word for young woman refers to a young woman of marriageable age. 2. Because Emmanuel is somewhat mysterious and commonly translated as God with us. 3. A natural birth to an unmarried woman of marriageable age would result in an illegitimate child. What we need to know, when the fullness of time had come, God sent his Son to give us the presence of God with us.
Thursday, God is with us. Isaiah 7 verse 14. There is no stronger assurance and comfort. God does not promise that his people will not endure hardship and pain, but he promises to be with them. God says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flames shall not consume you." Isaiah 43 verse 2.
Friday, his name shall be called Emmanuel, God with us. The light of the knowledge of the glory of God is seen in the face of Jesus Christ. God brought faithless King Ahaz to circumstances in which he had to make a difficult decision, to believe or not to believe. This is the question. Even though the Lord offered him any sign that his imagination could devise, he refused to allow God to demonstrate a reason why he should believe. Instead, he chose as his friend the king of Assyria.
Have a happy Sabbath.